The final weekend recap, at least until January. Hey, I'm Adrian, and welcome to said series, the weekend recap. And with no La Liga, we have just 3 leagues to get through, and then I have to hurry off to do more World Cup content for you guys. Very excited to do so. And yes, this is the last weekend recap for a while, but not the last bit of content on the channel, as we will of course switch gears into World Cup mode, recaps of what happened, previews of what could happen, and much more. Thanks for joining me, guys. Shall we hit Italy? Kim Min-jae took to Instagram to apologize to Napoli supporters for errors he made in their match against Udinese. How bad were the errors? How drastic? Not fatal, to be honest, as Napoli still won 3-2, but what a sweetheart, no? But first, Elmas started things off with a great ball into the box for Victor Osimhen. Just 50 minutes in, and the Nigerian nodded it in for his 10th goal in just 14 appearances so far this season. That's wild. In Serie A, he has 9, which is crazy considering he has just 11 appearances in Serie A. Zielinski got the second with a lovely curling effort, and Elmas, after setting up the first, got Napoli's third. The collapse happened, but can you call it a collapse? They still won. But first, the goal for Udinese was a beauty. Success chesting it into the pass of Nestorovski for the smash. And then the error from Kim, which is kind of harsh calling it an error, as there was still a ton of work for Samardzic to do. But the South Korean dwelled on the ball in the midfield, was stripped of it, and Samardzic curled one in from way out here. Now that you see it, it's pretty cute that Kim Min-jae felt obliged to apologize. 3-2 Napoli. They finished the first half of the season with 41 points from a possible 45, which is impressive. Atalanta and Inter played out a thriller, a nice way for me to start my Sunday morning at 6:30 a.m. And it was a Dzeko masterclass with some solid saves from Onana as well sprinkled in there, especially to hold off Atalanta in that first half, until Davray gave away a penalty. To be fair to Onana, he came close to Lookman's penalty as well. But anyway, after conceding a nice flick on from Lautaro, put it on a play for Dzeko's first, he would get the second as well, as DiMarco whipped a dangerous ball through the 6th, and a Palomino own goal would be Inter's eventual winner at 3-2. Monza got into the World Cup break with a nice win. They smashed Salernitana to actually gain on the Salerno team. Just 1 point separates them now. Bologna beat Sassuolo 3-0, which was surprising, but when looking at Sassuolo's recent form, it's understandable. Winless in 4, 3 losses and a draw, which came against Roma, who are out of sorts right now, aren't they? AS Roma hosted Torino, and they labored against them, which, of course, is a testament to how well Torino have been playing of late. Coming into the clash against Roma, Torino had 3 wins from their previous 4 matches, whereas Roma had 1 win in 4. Things not looking great at Roma. You can point to injuries, of course, but they are capable of better. In the second half, they came alive, but Torino were also picking their moments well, and a ball into the box was headed past Patricio by Linetti, a single ball. Roma unable to finish their dinner on a few occasions, with dangerous balls from Dybala and the like going untouched through the box. All other strikes were well blocked by Torino for the most part, until the man who set up Torino's goal, Singo, tripped Dybala in the box, giving Belotti the chance to score against his former side from the spot, and he choked. Banged it off the outside of the post, but in the 94th minute, Dybala hit the bar, and Matic smashed the rebound in from outside of the 18. What a first goal to get to save that result for Roma. 1-1 the final. Realized I had the other light on when I don't need it. But hey, AC Milan left it incredibly late to get their 2-1 win over Fiorentina, though all of the Inter and Juve supporters I could see on Twitter were resharing Tomori's poor tackle on Wknd that was not given as a penalty. Did Milan get away with one there? I think they just may have, because that is the definition of getting the man and then the ball. But anyway, Rafael with the first goal for Milan, and the other came off of Milinkovic, the Fiorentina defender, in the 91st minute to give them the 2-1 victory. And the Lazio-Juve clash, a massive clash, we'll throw to editor Adrian. Juventus are getting better and better, aren't they? Juventus invited Mr. Sarri ball without Ciro Immobile. That is a very different Lazio when they show up without Ciro Immobile. They struggle without him because there's no one else that they have that can really fill that void, do they? 3-0 Juventus at home against Lazio. A brace from Moise Kean. 1 late goal from Arkadiusz Milik. And you got to give a lot of credit to Allegri and how he has begun to sort of turn things around, at least domestically for Juventus. In the Champions League, they were still brutal. They were not good. They were outclassed by other teams in the Champions League. But domestically, they've been shooting up the standings, and they are currently in 3rd place going into this World Cup break. They have won 6 matches consecutively. They have the best defense in the league with just 7 goals conceded. They honestly are looking fantastic in this moment. We'll see if that carries on, but they are in 3rd place, as mentioned, 2 points behind Milan. You know, maybe they would have been level on points had that Salernitana match not had, guys scoring with their hands or VAR not working properly. Lazio, they're in 4th, Inter in 5th. Atalanta have dropped all the way down to 6th after they were right up there with Napoli for a lot of this season. And then at the bottom half of the table, you have Hellas Verona absolutely stinking it up with 1 win from 15 matches. Cremonese, they have 0 wins from 15, but at least they have those 7 draws. So they have that going for them. And then the rest of the table you can see here. Fark and Gladbach got a statement win to close out this first half, in quotation marks, of the season. Stuck in mid-table purgatory, Gladbach shocked Dortmund with a 4-2 win as Marcus Thuram continued his great form of late with a goal, while Lars Stindl and Jonas Hoffmann shone with 2 assists each. As for Dortmund, there are major questions to be asked of this side as they lost their final 2 matches of the first part, we'll say, of the season against teams that were firmly mid-table, while simultaneously allowing Bayern to open up a 9-point lead over Terzic and the Dortmund fellas. But a strange season for Gladbach, eh? They started very well, then they had a huge dip of form, beat Stuttgart, lose to Bochum, and beat Dortmund. They're all over the place, man, but hey, they're at least, fun in a chaotic way. Wolfsburg have well and truly turned things around. They'll be hoping they can continue with this form following the World Cup, as that will be the big question mark for every team that's in good form at the moment. Will this break up the rhythm for them? Will they return just as strong? Well, for Wolfsburg's part, they beat Hoffenheim 2-1 away this weekend, which is a great result, as Niko Kovac's revolution at the club continues. They are now undefeated in 9 matches across all competitions, having won 4 on the trot in the Bundesliga, including that win over Dortmund earlier in the week. Speaking of absolutely turning things around, RB Leipzig's Marco Rose has been thriving. He's been a perfect fit for the club after struggling with Dortmund, but perhaps the struggles of Terzic with Dortmund will vindicate Rose somewhat. We'll have to revisit that notion later in the season. But anyway, RB Leipzig went away to Werder Bremen and started as well as you could, Forsberg rolling the ball into the path of Andre Silva, and in turn rolled it beyond the keeper for 1-0. Silva capping off a great week in which he was also called up to the Portugal national team for the World Cup. In the second half, Christian Gross struck toward goal and got an absolute dream deflection that caused the ball to loop perfectly out of reach of Leipzig keeper Janis Blaswich and into the far corner. 1-1. Blaswich had to make a few good saves on this one, by the way. Werder are not an easy team to play against. They are not the kind of, automatic points newly promoted side you would expect them to be. Like, Schalke is. But 15 minutes after the equalizer, Schlager made it 2-1 Leipzig, which was the final score. To update you, Marco Rose's side are now undefeated in 13 matches, having won 11 and drawn twice in that stretch. Very impressive, considering Leipzig lost 2 of Rose's first 3 matches when he took over. Things are looking great there. One of those losses was against Real Madrid, to be fair. Speaking of which, after a rocky start to his tenure, Xabi Alonso's Bayer Leverkusen are looking better and better, aren't they? This weekend they defeated Stuttgart 2-0 with Ta and Moussa Diaby providing the goals, in the opposite order of which I said them. For Diaby, he has 8 goals and 4 assists now, but he's scored in 3 consecutive matches for Leverkusen, which is massive. He's coming alive for Alonso. And him coming alive is a big part of their improvements domestically. 4 goals in 3 matches for him, closing out this portion of the season in great form along with his teammates. They're not going away on a sour note. By the way, the 3 wins they got on the trot is the same amount of wins Leverkusen had in their entire season prior to Xabi Alonso arriving. Speaking of going out in great form, Bayern defeated Schalke 2-0 with 2 key players continuing their great patch. First off, there's the young Jamal Musiala who got 2 assists against Schalke as he heads off to Qatar as one of those young players that can well and truly make a huge difference for their country in spite of their age or inexperience at a tournament of that stature. He has been playing out of his mind. I mean, just look at these numbers. Then, of course, there was Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting, one of the longest names in the game, double hyphen, for sure. And he also scored to cap off an incredible stretch for himself before he heads off to the World Cup. In all, he scored 10 and assisted 3 in his last 9 appearances. Massive from him as well. Mainz were able to hold Eintracht Frankfurt to a 1-1 draw. Mario Götze getting another assist as he set up Muani, the striking sensation for Frankfurt for this season. Respect to Kamada. We are Kamada enjoyers around here. They both have been great. Amazingly, that was Götze's first assist in the Bundesliga from 15 appearances. Despite all those key passes from him, just his first assist. Muani, on the other hand, has 10 assists for Frankfurt to go with his 5 Bundesliga goals. The man is on fire for Glasner. And fellas, I'm sad to announce that the Union Berlin party has well and truly finished. They are well and truly hungover at the moment, as they were 3-0 down after just 20 minutes at home against SC Freiburg, with Diogo Leite getting sent off as well. Horrible stuff, really. A sad sight to take in, but they had to regress to the mean eventually, right? Hopefully they can hang on to a European place at least. That would still be a great achievement. But further credit to Freiburg, man. Fantastic stuff from them as they are going into the winter break in second place, 4 behind Bayern Munich. RB Leipzig and Frankfurt round out the top 4. Union are right there as well, 2 points ahead of Borussia Dortmund. At the bottom of the table, Schalke are firmly in last place with 9 points, while the relegation battle is looking like it will be a good one. 19 matches to go though, so anything can happen still. Aston Villa had a nice little comeback win, didn't they? Unai Emery now has 2 wins from 3 attempts as the Villa manager, as his side won 2-1 away to Brighton. But there were certainly some questions of the officials, as Brighton perhaps should have had a penalty here. Wknd with a swing and a miss with the clearance. Swing and a miss when it comes to the ball, but when it came to clattering Solly March, whew. But a brace from Danny Ings gave Villa the win after they had previously been trailing after just 1 minute. So shout out to Emery, the absolute magician. Darwin Núñez continues to thrive at Liverpool as he scored a brace in their 3-1 victory over Southampton. That's 8 goal involvements in his last 10 matches, as he is making a habit of strong performances following that shaky spell after he was sent off against Crystal Palace. Much better from him lately. That said, despite the good performance in the attack from Liverpool, Firmino with the other goal, by the way, for Liverpool, despite the good performances there and the comfortable 3-1 scoreline, Alisson was called upon a good 3 times or so to make fantastic saves. So Southampton will have left frustrated by the Brazilian keeper with some of the saves he was making. Promising early signs for Nathan Jones, who replaced Ralph Hasenhüttl this week. After a frustrating first half, Arsenal's Martin Odegaard scored a brace to lift them up above Wolves, which was a notable victory, not because of the opposition, who are dead last, but because Manchester City lost 2-1 at home. Against whom? Brentford. Yes, after getting snubbed by Gareth Southgate, Ivan Toney scored a brace, the second of those goals coming in the 98th minute, the 8th minute of 10 minutes of Frank time. Forget Fergie time. There's a clear bias to Thomas Frank in this league, and it is disgusting. I kid, of course. But yes, a frustrating day for City, who were hurling attempts towards Brentford's goal. 29 attempts, 6 on target. Fewer on target than Brentford had, actually. Despite those 29 attempts to Brentford's 10, the XGs were close. 1.61 for City, 1.29 for Brentford, which speaks to the kind of attempts City were taking at goal. What's funny is that on the balance of it, Brentford could have actually had more goals. City were poor in defense. And surprisingly, no goals from open play for Erling Haaland in 4 consecutive matches. The man is absolutely finished. It's sad to see. Again, guys, I'm joking. I know someone out there took me seriously with that. It was a joke, my friend. Leicester and West Ham continue to move in opposite directions. After a great couple of seasons, West Ham are sliding backwards at the moment, while Leicester are moving up the table after a horrible start to the season. James Maddison, who got a call-up for the World Cup, scored in the 8th minute. He was taken off just as a precaution, by the way, while Harvey Barnes got the other for Leicester in a 2-0 win. Everton were booed off the pitch as they went away to Bournemouth and lost 3-0. There were even shots of an Everton supporter throwing Iwobi's shirt back to him after the match, as they were disgusted by Everton's final match prior to the World Cup break. Crescencio Somerville, what a name, and Rodrigo Moreno cannot stop scoring for Leeds, both doing so in the first half away to Tottenham, sandwiching a first half goal from Harry Kane, by the way. But the second half was a barn burner, with Ben Davies equalizing for Tottenham 6 minutes after halftime. Then Rodrigo Moreno scored again. He's in a rich vein of form, as Rodrigo has scored 5 goals in his last 4 matches for Leeds. But Rodrigo Bentancur, the man who has been in incredible form himself for his side, scored a 2-minute brace to take Spurs from 3-2 down to 4-3 win. 3 goals in the last 3 matches for him, and it was a win that Spurs desperately needed, that Conte desperately needed. That makes it 2 wins and 3 losses in their last 5 matches. After Wilfried Zaha failed to convert a penalty just before the half, hitting the woodwork, that hurts. Forest got a big 1-0 victory at home, thanks to a goal from Morgan Gibbs White. Newcastle United are still on fire, and they proved that once again by beating Chelsea this time at home in Newcastle. Goal from Joe Willock. Remember that run of form he went on a while ago? Well, he hasn't been averaging a goal per game as he was back then, but he was set up by Miguel Almiron for what was his 2nd goal of the season to take his tally to 2 goals in 3 matches now. Chelsea, on the other hand, are in a bad way at the moment. That loss against Brighton not only ended theirs and Potter's unbeaten run under him, but it seems to have completely shaken them mentally because they have now lost 4 of their previous 5 matches, beating only Dinamo Zagreb, and have lost 3 matches consecutively now. If any of the quote-unquote big teams in England needed this World Cup break to just hit the training pitch and get a better understanding of their manager, almost have a preseason once again, it's Chelsea. And finally, United was without Ronaldo once again as he has been ill, according to reports. So, guys, just a quick note, Adrian recorded this video prior to that Ronaldo video getting released, so he had no knowledge of what was going on with Cristiano Ronaldo and whether the illness was real or I mean, we still don't know if the illness was real or not. We'll assume that it is real. But this absolute bombshell interview that Ronaldo dropped deserves a video of its own. That's why we aren't really going in there and amending it. There's so much to cover from that interview, so there will be another video coming out today. You can look forward to that. Okay, back to Adrian. Anthony Martial returned to the starting 11 for United, and the attack looked fluid again. Not perfect, as they were misfiring a lot, especially in that second half, but you can at least see the seedlings of what Erik ten Hag is trying to grow at the club. Fulham is a side you'd expect United to beat, of course, but they haven't been pushovers. Just 2 fewer points than Chelsea actually so far this season, though they have played an additional match. Of course, after his great performance against Aston Villa, Garnacho was the star of this match as well, but in a different way. He came on for Martial in the 72nd minute, and his combination with Christian Eriksen saw him roll the ball in the 93rd minute to win it all for Ten Hag. Cruel for Fulham, but a great attacking move from United. Eriksen, by the way, 1 goal, 1 assist against Fulham. That was a solid performance. So, a look at the table. Arsenal have a 5-point lead over Man City going into the break. Those two are due to play each other as their match was cancelled when the Queen died. Then you have Newcastle and Tottenham in the top 4. Tottenham perhaps a surprise for some, but I guess it speaks to how all over the place the league is at the moment, with teams like Liverpool and Chelsea on 22 and 21 points respectively. At the bottom of the table, Wolves are the bottom lurkers, the Dorito dust basement boys sitting there in 20th, and just above the relegation zone is tight. West Ham and Everton need to turn things around big time, but again, 23 matches to go still. And no time to go in this episode, guys. Wow, it'll be a long time before I return to you guys in early January. Well, before the weekend recap returns in early January, I should say, because again, we'll have a ton of World Cup content out for you. Thanks so much for watching. For anyone who won't stick around for the World Cup, I'll miss you, and I'll see you in early January. Ciao, guys.